Welcome back to the Least Professional channel on YouTube. How's everybody doing today? So today it's time to answer your questions. A couple months ago I decided that when I hit 100 subscribers, I was going to do a 100 subscriber Q&A. And a lot more than 100 people have subscribed. We are at 242 subscribers as of right now. So first of all, thank you to all the new subscribers and welcome. You all are awesome. So I put out a video last Sunday basically telling you, ask me whatever questions you want to ask. And then I will go through them and answer them. And several of you responded with some awesome questions. So I'm going to go ahead and go through those questions now. And let's go ahead and get started with this. Okay, so what I've done for this is sorted by contains questions, and so I'm just going to go through these, and I'm going to start at the top and just kind of go down and answer each question as they come along. So the first question here is from Max M. They said, my question for you for the Q&A video: Did you ever have an incident which you could not explain? If yes, please describe the incident. So I'm assuming that you mean paranormal experiences, and the only event that I have that I can't explain, I talked briefly about this back in the video I did with my brother a few months ago, where we were talking about different paranormal events that have happened in our lives and that kind of thing. The only event that I've ever experienced that I haven't really been able to come up with a real good explanation for was when I was a security guard way back in early 2000s. And the company I was actually working as a security guard for was a steel mill in Columbus. And I did the overnight shift, and it was usually like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. the next morning, that kind of thing. And so, and part of our shift was to walk around and do rounds throughout the entire property. And it was a real big property, but they had this one building on there. And the building, I don't know how long it had been there, but it was there for quite a while. And a lot of different companies had changed hands over the years. At one point, the entire property was a horse farm way back in the day, back in the 1800s. So it had been around for a while, and it was supposedly haunted. So I was doing my rounds, and I was walking around in the main building, and when I was coming around the corner, I just walked in the building, and this is I think it was 4 stories was the building, so we had to go through each level all the way up and then back down. And I was walking around the corner to where we had an office, and I was going to go in the office and check in. That was the first checkpoint. So I go around the corner, and I thought I'd heard some footsteps as I was coming down the hall, so I thought somebody else might be in there even though there shouldn't be anybody. And as I came walking around the corner, I ran into, the best way that I can describe it, I ran into somebody like right here in my face. And in a split second, just like that, they were gone. And I was so shaken by this at the time that I didn't know what to think at first. I went into the office and I actually sat down for like 15 minutes trying to wrap my head around what just happened. Did I actually run into somebody? Was I hallucinating? Am I just so tired because it was like the middle of the night? So I don't have a full good explanation for that. I didn't like. I feel like I felt them when I hit what I thought was a person, but to tell you the truth, I don't know exactly what that was, and I still don't have a full good explanation for what it very well could have been. There was a ghost there. Like I've said in plenty of times, I don't believe in ghosts now, but back then I did, and at the time I was convinced that I had run into a ghost. But that was the only time in 3 or 4 months that I worked on that property that something like that happened. There was other instances where it was kind of creepy feeling, but I never had anything like that happen. So yeah, that's the one time that I have that I don't have any good solid explanation for. Although, it'd be nice someday if I could figure something out. It could very well be just a mental thing that I was just so tired and exhausted that I hallucinated something. I don't honestly know what it was. So we'll go ahead and jump down to the next question here. Hopefully I answered your question, Max. If you have any other questions for me, you can ask me. I'd love to go back and forth and talk a little bit more about it in the comments of this video even. Okay, so the next question here is from Marco Schmidt, and they had 2 questions. The first one, what was the motivation to start your channel? And have you ever seen anything you think is paranormal? So the motivation to start my channel, so way back in May, or actually it's probably April or so, I started kind of getting into photography. So I've mentioned in the past that I'm on the autism spectrum. I deal with some social anxiety and stuff like that. So crowded places, going out and that kind of thing always bothered me. But I found myself really enjoying going to cemeteries, and I had been going and taking pictures for years. And so in April, I decided, I want to kind of get into photography a little bit. And I had been watching several photography channels on YouTube trying to learn about the hobby and trying to learn about like ISO and shutter speed and all this kind of stuff and how to take good images. And so throughout April and into May, I got my Canon EOS 2000D, which is my first camera, in May. And I had gotten to the point where I'd watched so much of these photography channels, I was kind of frustrated with the fact that they were coming at it from a professional standpoint. They've been doing it for years, and so they were explaining it from a professional level. But for me, as much as like their advice and their stuff resonated, I felt like it would be nice to find or have a channel on YouTube that was dedicated to somebody that was learning and going along with, learning about the steps and how photography works and stuff in real time, as opposed to somebody explaining what it was like for them 20 years ago or 30 years ago when they were a beginner. So what I decided that I wanted to do, because back in 2016 I had actually tried to get into YouTube, and I'd been taking videos with my phone, and so I had a few videos on my channel. They were all terrible videos that like I go back and watch now and I'm like, what was I thinking? So I had those videos. I already had that idea of like wanting to put something on YouTube, and so I decided, well, I'll be that beginner photographer that's making videos and kind of helping other beginners from the same level as I go along, and maybe some people will get some help out of it. So in May, late May I think it was, I posted a video basically saying, I want to move forward with the channel, I want to grow the channel, this is what I'm doing with it, with photography and that kind of thing. And then I just started going out and shooting, and my first few videos especially were very very just me walking around. I did very little editing. For the most part, editing especially scared me at first. I didn't really, I was worried about doing editing. As I've grown the channel and gotten more used to it and gotten better at the tools and stuff, I use DaVinci Resolve, for instance, for editing. So I've gotten better at using that over time. It's gotten a little bit easier. But getting back to the question, like the motivation was I wanted to help people learn something from the level that I was at as a beginner. That kind of changed in August, and being candid for a minute, in August I kind of hit a bump where I wasn't really enjoying the photography stuff, like making the photography videos, and I have always been passionate about ghosts and philosophy and that kind of stuff. So I kind of did a shift there. Still the same kind of principle, like teaching things and trying to interact and build a community up. And so that kind of led to where I'm at right now. I mean, I've only been doing this for 6 months, so it's still kind of new to me. I'm still learning a lot of it. But yeah, that's where it all kind of began, was just kind of trying to find a way to share what I was learning. And I figured too that like if I was making videos of it, that would keep me motivated and keep me moving to try and continue doing that, to continue taking pictures and learning photography. If I could learn it and then share it with people, because one of the best ways to learn something new is by teaching it. So if you're trying to pick up a new hobby or something like that, if you can find somebody, or even on YouTube, if you start a YouTube channel and teach the things that you're learning, you'll pick things up a lot faster. And that's what I found, especially with photography. Like I picked up a lot of stuff really fast with it because I was I was learning it, researching it, and then putting it up on YouTube. So to your other question, have you ever seen anything you think is paranormal? It really kind of depends on what you define as paranormal. Obviously, the story I just shared about the event that happened to me that could have been paranormal. Probably, if you're talking paranormal as in, if you're counting like ghosts and UFOs and cryptids and all that kind of stuff, it's something that I haven't really, even as an adult, that I can't explain, that happened when I was a kid. Was one year, we were at the summer camp. It was the first time that I'd ever like gone to any kind of camp. So we were there, and we had taken a hike with the group up to this like hilltop area that we were supposed to go up there like to stargaze, and we were going to hang out and have a bonfire and camp stuff. And we get up there and we're all hanging out, and it's dark outside, and I remember clear as day, and I don't know 100% whether this memory is how true or how accurate this memory is, because it was so long ago, but we looked up in the sky and we see like this real slow moving craft that's just like going over top of us. And it was like it was a triangle shaped thing, and it was just kind of moving real slow through the sky, and it lasted probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes maybe. I didn't time it. I wasn't really in the mindset to think like that, but I watched it just kind of go over, and then eventually it just faded. It went above the trees behind us and it disappeared. and there was no noise with it. It was real slow moving, and it looked like it was low to the ground, but I don't, like I said, I don't remember 100%, and I don't know how much of that memory is like true memory compared to, you know, maybe my mind inflating things as it being a kid. But it was never talked about again. Like I don't remember it even being brought up again in the rest of the camp time, and I don't remember it being brought up. Like I never brought it up to my parents. So it was one of those weird things that just like I can't explain it. It was something that I would consider paranormal as far as like if you're talking about UFOs and that kind of stuff. That it was just a really weird occurrence. Like I don't know that aliens are visiting Earth or any of that kind of stuff, but it was one of those instances that was just really weird to me, and it has stuck with me for all these years. Next question is from Quippus Paranormal Scanner. I know a lot of you guys came over from Quippus, so. Quippus is an awesome channel. If you haven't checked them out, go check him out. I'll link them down in the description below. But Quippus says, for the 250 subscribers special, which, close, not quite there. But has anyone ever approached you during your outdoor shoots at the cemetery and complained about you shooting videos at the cemetery? And nobody has approached me and complained about it. But we've gotten some weird looks at times because people see us setting up camera equipment in a cemetery that looks kind of weird. But one of the cooler things that happened was when we were out. It was when I was filming the video with my brother, and we were setting everything up and we're getting all ready to go. And there's a bunch of people. We were in Green Lawn Cemetery, and that's in Columbus, Ohio. And there's a bunch of people that have been walking around. We've seen them in different areas, but it's a big place, so there were not a lot of people around. But these two women come walking up, and they see that we're getting ready to film, and they start asking us like, "Hey, what are you up to? What are you doing? Are you filming something, like making a documentary?" And so I explained to them like, "We're out here. I have a YouTube channel. I like to make cemetery chats and historical stuff and that kind of thing. So we're out here doing that." And we talked for a few minutes, and it turns out that they used to work for a local TV station in Cincinnati, I believe. And essentially, that's why they were kind of interested, because they used to shoot those kind of things, and they would go out to cemeteries and film. So I found that kind of cool that like we were running into other people that had done the same kind of thing that I was doing at the time. So that was pretty cool. Other than that, like nobody's really complained about it. Just mostly curiosity. Whenever we run into people out at cemeteries, especially when we got the camera up. Probably another one that was kind of funny was I was getting ready to film. If you've watched some of the cemetery chats, I used to do an opening for them that has now become the Reaper series that I'm working on. But one of those days we were out filming that, and I had already got my Reaper stuff on, and we were getting ready to film, and my wife was going to be walking beside me with the camera, and these people come driving by, and I couldn't see them very well because I didn't have my glasses on, and I was wearing a mask and everything, and they drive by real slow, and they go around the corner, and they go up the road a little bit, and my wife turns to me, and she goes, "That was a couple of older people." I'm like, that's great. I've got these old people driving around the cemetery seeing me dressed up as a Reaper walking around, and they actually turned around and came back down and then drove by me slowly again. And she could see their faces, and she said they were kind of looking at me like, "What is going on?" So it's a couple of really funny little occurrences that happened. That's kind of the nature of the thing, though. Like with what I do, not a lot of people go out and film at cemeteries, and that's kind of why I like to do it, because it's not something you're going to find a lot of. A lot of these cemetery videos, I've found other people that go out to cemeteries and will film walking around looking at headstones and that kind of stuff, which is what I used to do. But I haven't found anything that's quite like what I do as far as like setting up a chair and getting a whole scene set up and actually recording a video. And I cannot wait till I actually have a chance, the weather's good enough to go back out and do that, which hopefully in the next week or two I'll be able to get one of those out, because I love filming those cemetery chats. It's so much fun to go out, one, be outside, but two, just like filming in a different location than just being sitting here in my living room filming on the couch. So Bree's got the next one here. Wow, you're over 200 subs now. Yes, you guys are amazing. Patch is so cute. I love cats. Q&A question. Do you believe in or have you seen any cryptids? So I've never seen any cryptids. I leave it open a little bit for some cryptids. Now, there's some that I think, for instance, the Loch Ness Monster would be considered a cryptid. I don't think the Loch Ness Monster exists. They've combed that lake. They've been out there. There's never been any real evidence. The best evidence they had was proven to be a fake. There hasn't been any evidence for something like that. For something like, if you're talking more like Bigfoot, there hasn't been any like concrete evidence of Bigfoot, but I still leave it open the possibility of like maybe there's something out there we haven't discovered yet that's just really good at hiding. There's all kinds of bigger species, especially typically in like the South American jungles and that kind of stuff that of different apes, orangutans, that kind of thing. There's been bigger species of those that have been found just in the past 50 years. So I think it's perfectly reasonable to assume that there could be something out there that we just haven't discovered yet, at least not directly. There, footprints, hair, that kind of stuff that can technically be faked, but again, some of that stuff, like, it's just, I know that they've had hair samples in the past that have been shown to like be inconclusive as to the animal that they came from. So lots of questions around that kind of thing. So I guess to answer, do I believe in any? Kind of, sort of. I think the possibility is there. It's better than the possibility for ghosts, in my opinion. But I haven't seen any personally. I would love to, maybe. I'm going to be doing a video on like the Ohio grassman and that kind of thing, and who knows? Maybe I'll be the first person to capture something that's actually like solid proof. I doubt it, but I'm gonna make the attempt because I think that it is a possibility that something like that could be out there. So Sammy D asked, "Who's your little furry fellow behind you?" And yeah, some of you guys have noticed. And Bree mentioned. So this is my cat back here. No, I know. So this is. Yeah, I want to show you off. Come here. So this is Patch. He doesn't like to be on camera, but he does like to hog the spotlight. I know, I messed up your sleeping. Here, lay down here next to me. How's that? Does that make it all better? He has his moments where he likes to cuddle. But usually he just likes to lay behind me when I'm filming, just to take the spotlight away. Yes, I know. Jump to the next question real quick here, because it actually is about the cat as well. So, Demissal, I think I'm saying that correctly. Demissal says, "Thank you. Your videos and your content are great. My question would be out of topic. What is the name of the cute cat, Patch? And more on topic, as you're a cat owner, some might say that cats are able to detect supernatural or spirits. Do we all and we all know the creepy situations. The cat stares into nothing, reacts to something that we can't see. What do you think of this? A lot of so-called ghost hunting teams bring along a dog and take its reaction as evidence for whatever. Yeah, animals are a whole nother ballgame, and as any cat owner can probably tell you, cats have a tendency to kind of just stare off into nothing. And that's just something that they do. They like to just stare. My cat will sit here and stare out the window, even when there's nothing going on out there. They're constantly watching. It's a mechanism, like an evolutionary mechanism that they have because of the hunting that their ancestors did and that kind of stuff. So that's still ingrained in them. And so they'll look off, and I don't think that they're seeing ghosts. I think that they're seeing just whatever they want to see. Like, they're daydreaming maybe sometimes. I think to an extent too. I mean, my cat at times, it'll be 3 o'clock in the morning, and he'll all of a sudden decide that, hey, now's the time to play. And if you have a cat, you probably know this very well. He'll scurry around the room, and he'll run up and down the stairs, and I mean, he does some crazy stuff. And you gotta think their hearing is also very good. Even if it's not their sight. Their sight could be that they caught a fly flying around. You know, my cat's done that a few times. There'll be a fly in the house, and it'll be darting around somewhere, and maybe it's a smaller one. I don't see it, but he sees it, and he'll just kind of stare, and it's like he's trying to find it and relock onto it. So those kind of things can happen. There could be a little noise that I don't hear that he does hear, and that could get his attention to where he stares off to try to figure out what made the noise. So I think that probably explains the vast majority of it. As far as like ghost hunting teams bring along dogs, I haven't seen that before. I'd be real interested to see a video of that, just because I didn't know that was a thing. I don't think it's a reliable thing if they are doing that. I could see them taking along a dog if they're in a place that like is kind of sketchy and they're maybe hoping the dog will protect them. But as far as bringing one along for paranormal research, again, just like video and photography and all that kind of stuff, dogs aren't going to provide you evidence of that stuff. Just because a dog is staring off, it doesn't mean it's staring at a ghost or staring at something you can't see. It could just be that the dog wants to stare off in a certain direction or heard a noise and is trying to pinpoint where that noise was at. All right, and then the last question down here actually came from Wooly Bully. He said, if I had one question, it would be, if you could investigate one legend or tale, regardless of where it was located, and money or time was not a concern, then what tale or legend would you pick? Maybe your top 3 list. Thank you by the way for creating this channel, and I love it, and I appreciate that. I'm having a lot of fun with the channel too. So, but to answer your question, and I've been trying to think about this. You asked the question 5 days ago, and I've been kind of pondering over in my head the whole entire week, like, what is one place or a couple of places that I would love to just investigate if I had the chance. One of them is probably like the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. I would love to go there. I'm hoping in the next year or two to be able to get out there. It's like, I think $1,000 a night for a paranormal investigation. So I'd love to get out there and do something like that. Of course, I've been to the Mansfield Reformatory. That was one that I was on my bucket list. I've always wanted to go to, so I did get the chance to go there. There's a couple other locations, little locations around the United States that would probably be kind of cool. I think the Sally House out in Kansas would be a cool one to go see. That was featured on BuzzFeed Unsolved. They did a couple investigations out there. I think that would be kind of cool, just because like it's supposedly so haunted. If I didn't have to worry about like the budget, I would love to go. There's castles in Europe, I think, that are. I've seen some really supposedly extremely haunted castles and that kind of stuff. More so because I would love to go just visit one of those castles. Doing the paranormal investigation part of it would be cool too, but just to see the architecture and to be in the place and know the history. Because for me, when I'm out doing, like checking out a place that's supposedly haunted, I'm less worried about the haunted aspect of it and more into the history. When I was at the Mansfield Reformatory, like that was a big deal for me because I tried to put myself in the place of what it was like at one time. And when you think about, something like the Mansfield Reformatory, it's a little over 120 years old, so it's got some history to it, but like some of those castles in Europe, you're talking 1,000 years old, 1,500 years old, that just have so much history and events that happen there. And, I don't think I could pick one in particular. I would have to look into them and maybe rank them on some kind of a tier list, which I don't feel like I could even do, just because any one of them would be really cool to go see. So those kind of things would be awesome. Other than that, like, any place that has a lot of history, I think, would be really cool. Stonehenge is one that I would love to visit someday, just because even though it's not a building, it's still a location that's supposedly paranormal, has some kind of significance to it. It would be cool to go check that out. So places like that are the kind of places I would love to see. Probably top on the list though is Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, just because the history there, and it's supposedly one of the most haunted places in the U.S. So I'd love to check it out from that standpoint. But yeah, so that's that's what I got as far as like where I'd like to go. If budgets and time weren't a constraint, which currently, unfortunately, they are. But maybe someday. We'll see. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for the questions. Thank you to everybody that submitted a question. So obviously this is kind of covers the 100 and 200 subscriber specials. I think the next big goal, and more moving into next year, I feel like, is going to be 500 subscribers, just because that unlocks the community tab, which I will be excited to unlock that. That's going to be a lot of fun to be able to actually have another way to talk to you guys and communicate in between videos and that kind of thing. So looking forward to that. got to come up with something. Maybe you have a suggestion that you could drop in the comments below of something I could do if and when we hit 500 subscribers. So I'd be interested to hear what you guys would like to see, or what you guys would like me to do for these milestones. These are big milestones. These are big milestones that I want to find ways to celebrate them with the community, because without you guys, without everybody that watches and comments on the videos and gives some of your time every week or every couple times a week to watching these videos, without you guys, there's nothing there. There's I mean, I'm uploading videos and putting stuff out there because I enjoy it and it's a lot of fun. But having you guys watching and joining the community, it makes it all a million times better. It's amazing having that. And so I want to give back to everybody that gives me a piece of their time, and not just in the videos, but also, you know, getting your input and suggestions and that kind of stuff. I've mentioned the Discord several times. I'm going to continue to push it because I love the element that Discord provides to be able to have that communication and be able to talk to you guys in real time. I've spent a lot of time recently, especially we've had a couple of people join the Discord this week, and getting to talk to people and getting to know people, and it's part of growing the community. And I love everything about that, because without you guys, there is no community. So I want to thank you all for watching. Like I said, leave your suggestions in the comments below for what we should do when we get to 500, if and when that milestone happens. But yeah, thank you all for your time. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.